The camera catches it all. Every single second. Paul Heyman's smirk vanishes the moment Seth Rollins' fist connects with the concrete wall inches from his face. Security hasn't arrived yet. Nobody's there to stop what's about to happen. And the words that come out of Seth's mouth? They're going to change everything we thought we knew about the bloodline, about Roman Reigns, and about the absolute chaos that's been brewing behind those WWE curtains for months. Hit that like button right now because what I'm about to reveal is going to blow your mind, and if you don't share this with every wrestling fan you know, you're doing them a disservice. This isn't speculation. This isn't fantasy booking. This is real, this is raw, and this is exactly why WWE has been keeping Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman separated for the past 6 months. Let me take you inside that hallway. Let me paint the picture of what dozens of WWE personnel witnessed but couldn't record, couldn't tweet about, couldn't share until now. Seth Rollins wasn't supposed to be in that section of the arena. Paul Heyman definitely wasn't expecting him. And when their eyes locked, when Seth's jaw clenched and his fists balled up, everyone in that corridor knew something explosive was about to detonate. Heyman tried to walk away. He actually turned his back on the architect, on the revolutionary, on the man who has every reason to want him destroyed. Big mistake. Massive mistake. Because Seth grabbed him by that expensive suit jacket, spun him around, and the words that came next made Paul Heyman's face drain of all color. Roman warned me about you. He told me everything. Think about that statement for a second. Really let it sink in. Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, the man who has tormented Seth Rollins, who has dismantled his friendships, who has made his life absolute hell for years, warned him about Paul Heyman. Not Cody Rhodes. Not Kevin Owens. Not any of the current roster. Roman Reigns reached out to Seth Rollins with a warning about the special counsel, about the wise man, about the person everyone assumed was Roman's most loyal confidant. Comment below right now if you're already connecting the dots because this rabbit hole goes deeper than anyone could have imagined. The backstage area erupted into chaos within seconds. Production assistants scattered. Referees came running. Road agents tried to position themselves between Seth and Paul, but Seth wasn't having it. He shoved past them. He needed answers. He needed Paul to explain what Roman had revealed. And Paul? The man who always has a response, who can talk his way out of any situation, who has manipulated superstars and legends for decades? He was speechless. Actually speechless. His mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water, and for the first time in perhaps his entire career, Paul Heyman had nothing to say. That alone should terrify everyone who follows WWE programming. Multiple sources inside the company confirmed that this confrontation lasted almost 7 minutes before Triple H himself arrived to separate them. 7 minutes of Seth Rollins unloading everything, pointing his finger in Paul's chest, backing him against equipment cases, and demanding answers about what Roman had disclosed. Heyman kept shaking his head, kept trying to dismiss whatever accusations Seth was hurling at him, but his eyes told a different story. Fear. Genuine fear flickered across the wise man's face, and anyone who knows Paul Heyman knows that's not something you see every day. Subscribe to Ring Rumble right now because we're the only channel breaking down the real story behind WWE's biggest moments, and if you're not subscribed, you're missing the truth that other channels won't touch. Here's what we've pieced together from multiple sources, from people who were there, from talent who heard the aftermath discussions. Roman Reigns, during his absence from WWE television over the past few months, has been doing more than just spending time with family. He's been reflecting. He's been reassessing. And most importantly, he's been reviewing every single betrayal, every manipulation, every carefully orchestrated move that Paul Heyman has made over the past 4 years. The tribal chief isn't stupid. He's strategic. He's calculating. And apparently, he's discovered something about his special counsel that made him reach out to his former Shield brother with a warning. Think about Roman and Seth's history. The Shield. The betrayals. The battles. The mutual respect buried under years of conflict. For Roman to bypass all of that animosity and contact Seth specifically means whatever he discovered about Heyman is catastrophic. It means Roman found evidence of manipulation so profound, so dangerous, that he couldn't keep it to himself. He couldn't let another victim fall into Paul Heyman's trap. And make no mistake, if Roman Reigns considers you dangerous enough to warn his enemies about, you're playing a game that goes beyond championships and storylines. Seth's exact words, according to 3 separate sources who were within earshot, included accusations about Cody Rhodes, about Brock Lesnar, about CM Punk, about every single superstar Paul Heyman has advocated for over the years. Seth called him a parasite. He called him a manipulator. But most damning of all, Seth accused Paul of planning something that would destroy the industry we've all built. Those weren't words thrown around in anger. Seth was calculated. He was precise. This was someone who had received information and had time to process it, to verify it, and to prepare for this confrontation. He knew exactly what he was going to say when he cornered Heyman in that hallway. Paul tried to respond. Sources say he attempted his usual tactics, that silver-tongued deflection he's famous for. He started with "Seth, you misunderstand," but Rollins cut him off immediately. "Don't you dare," Seth reportedly shouted, loud enough that people in the gorilla position could hear him through the walls. "Roman showed me the receipts. He showed me everything you've been planning." Receipts. That's the word that should have every WWE fan on edge. What receipts? What evidence does Roman Reigns possess that would make him turn informant against his own special counsel? The timing of this confrontation is crucial. This happened just days before a major pay-per-view event. Seth Rollins wasn't scheduled to interact with Paul Heyman in any capacity. Their storylines haven't intersected in months. Which means this wasn't work. This wasn't part of the show. This was real personal business bleeding into the professional environment, and when that happens in WWE, it means the situation has escalated beyond anyone's control. Drop a comment if you think WWE creative is scrambling right now to figure out how to address this or whether they'll try to bury it completely. Here's where things get even more insane. Within an hour of this confrontation, Paul Heyman left the arena. Just left. Didn't fulfill his scheduled appearance. Didn't check with anyone. He got in his car and drove away, and nobody from WWE corporate has been able to reach him since. Paul Heyman, the most reliable professional in the industry, the man who shows up for everything, ghosted the company after Seth Rollins exposed him. That's not the behavior of an innocent man. That's not the reaction of someone who has nothing to hide. That's someone who knows the walls are closing in. Meanwhile, Seth Rollins was brought into an emergency meeting with top executives. Not to reprimand him, not to discipline him, but to ask him questions. To find out what Roman told him. To understand what threat Paul Heyman potentially poses to WWE's operations. Think about that shift in dynamic. Seth went from being the aggressor in an unprofessional backstage altercation to being the source of intelligence that WWE's decision-makers desperately need. That's how serious this situation has become. Roman Reigns hasn't appeared on WWE television to address any of this yet, but sources close to the tribal chief suggest he's been waiting for this moment. He wanted Paul to be exposed. He wanted the confrontation to happen publicly enough that WWE couldn't sweep it under the rug. Roman has been playing chess while everyone else has been playing checkers, and apparently, he's been setting up this checkmate for months. The question everyone should be asking is why? Why would Roman Reigns, who built his empire with Paul Heyman as his mouthpiece, suddenly decide to dismantle the man who helped elevate him to the top of the industry? The answer might lie in something that happened during Roman's recent time away. Multiple wrestlers have reported unusual conversations with Paul Heyman over the past year. Conversations where Paul would subtly plant seeds of doubt about their futures in WWE, where he would suggest other opportunities, other promotions, other paths they should consider. At the time, these superstars thought Heyman was just being his usual provocative self, stirring the pot for entertainment. But what if he was recruiting? What if Paul Heyman has been building something outside of WWE, using his connections and influence to orchestrate the biggest talent exodus the industry has ever seen? That would explain Roman's warning. That would explain why he specifically reached out to Seth. If Paul Heyman is planning to jump ship and take half the roster with him, Roman would want to protect the people he shared a ring with, even his enemies. The wrestling business is still a brotherhood, and you don't let a snake destroy the foundation everyone has built together. Share this video immediately because if this theory is correct, we're about to witness the most significant shift in professional wrestling since the Monday Night Wars. Seth's explosion backstage wasn't just about past manipulations, it was about future plans. It was about stopping whatever Paul Heyman has been orchestrating before it's too late. And here's the kicker, Cody Rhodes had a private conversation with Seth immediately after the Heyman confrontation. They were behind closed doors for over 30 minutes. Cody emerged looking concerned, immediately got on his phone, and started making calls. Who was he calling? What did Seth tell him? And why did Cody feel the need to activate his own network of contacts right after hearing whatever information Seth shared? The WWE locker room is divided right now. Some superstars think Seth overreacted. Others are quietly approaching him, asking questions, trying to find out what Roman revealed. There's a tension in the air that hasn't existed since the darkest days of backstage politics. Everyone's picking sides without even knowing what the war is about yet. That's how powerful Paul Heyman's influence has been. Even in his absence, even while hiding from the fallout, he's still controlling the narrative simply by being the mysterious threat everyone's whispering about. Triple H called an emergency talent meeting. He didn't address the Seth Paul situation directly, but he did emphasize loyalty, commitment, and the importance of the WWE family staying united. Reading between the lines, that's a clear message. Whatever Paul Heyman is planning, WWE is preparing to fight it. The company is circling the wagons, protecting its interests, and making sure every superstar understands that there are consequences for betrayal. That meeting wouldn't have happened if this was just a personal beef between two performers. This is existential for WWE. What happens next? That's the million-dollar question. Does Paul Heyman return and try to explain himself? Does Roman Reigns finally appear on television to reveal exactly what he discovered? Does Seth Rollins get vindication for his actions, or will WWE try to memory hole this entire incident? The wrestling world is holding its breath, waiting for the next move in this real-life drama that's more compelling than anything scripted television could produce. If you've watched this far, you understand why this matters. This isn't just wrestling gossip. This is the potential restructuring of the entire industry. This is about trust, betrayal, and the hidden machinations that happen behind the curtain while we're all focused on what's happening in the ring. Subscribe to Ring Rumble because we're committed to bringing you the truth, the real stories that shape professional wrestling. We're not here to speculate wildly or create fake drama. We're here to connect the dots, to show you what's really happening, and to make sure you're informed about the business you love. The Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman situation is far from over. It's just beginning, and whatever Roman Reigns warned Seth about, we're all about to find out together. Stay tuned, stay vigilant, and stay subscribed, because Ring Rumble will be here to break down every single development as this story unfolds. The revolution isn't being televised. It's happening right now, behind the scenes, and we're the only ones brave enough to report it.